Om Jnanatimirandasya Chinandjana Shlakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Namah Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shvam Upakadamyam Tadati Svapalantikam Vandeham Shio Shri Yuda Padkamlam Shigam Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaranatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadatam Parichana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Goprakanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gauraki Radhe Vrindavanashri Vrishabhani Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Panka Kalta Vishak Hipasana Bevasha Padnam Pavanbhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvashisa Simvadi Paskatyai Desatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we started discussing the nectar of instruction, and this first instruction here by Rupa Goswami is very important. Without controlling the mind and senses, we cannot perform devotional service, because the mind cannot be absorbed in Krishna if it's absorbed in sensual activities at the same time. It's not possible. I will repeat a verse again, and then we will go to the paragraph where Srila Prabhupada speaks about how to control the fickle, restless mind. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vajravegam Sakoda Vegam Jiva Vegam Utarapasta Vegam Etam Vegam So Visaita Dira Sarvam Apimam Partivinasisyat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak the mind's demand, the actions of anger and the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. We are going further to the paragraph where we left last time. The restlessness or fickleness of the mind, mano vega, is controlled when one can fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's a very important sentence. The mind is controlled when it's fixed on Krishna, on Krishna's service, on Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada quotes a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 31. This has been quoted many times by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Suryasam Mayahada Andakar Yan Krishna Tahanai Maya Radhikar. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the mind being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. the vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will be naturally controlled. So, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, well, he said to Prabhupada, thank you, without you and your instructions, I would have always been in Maya. And Prabhupada replied, you are always in Maya. So it means when we are not thinking of Krishna in all his service, we are in Maya. Controlling the mind is like controlling young children. If you have a young child, if it's not properly engaged by the parents, it will do mischief. So when the mind is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, then it will be engaged in sensual activities or the bodily concept of life. That the Prabhupada makes a point, the mind cannot be in a vacuum because the mind is active because the soul wants activities. The soul is active by nature, and this is mentioned also by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, that well, there Krishna makes a point that one cannot stop even for a moment activities, because it's a sign of life to be active. Active means desire. We desire that, but now we are desiring the wrong thing. We desire to give pleasure to the body and the mind instead of giving pleasure to Krishna. And that makes the mind uncontrolled. But sometimes we become angry that, if I can make it. So we have here the next paragraph is about anger. That in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you have verses 62 and 63. First of all, why is it that if we think of Krishna, we are out of Maya? Maya means ignorance, body identification, striving for happiness for the body and the mind. But the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavatam, so many times from the beginning already, it is stated that human life is not meant for sense gratification. So this is mentioned in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that 1 to 10, Kamasyanandriya Pritir Labho Jiveti Javata Shivasya Tattva Jijnasya Naktayasya Karmabhi. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. That's the first instructions that the Kodak Goswami gives from a long list of instructions in the second chapter of the first canto. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. And then when Narada Muni instructs Srila Vyasadeva, he says the same thing. And that's a key verse Prabhupada uses many times. Tasheva ita prayato tako vido nalapyate al brahmatam yuta yada. Talapyate dukava anyate sukan karnena sevatra kabiramasa. This verse says one who is actually intelligent and philosophically inclined. He should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, to the lowest planet, Patal. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in due course of time. Just as in course of time we obtain miseries, though we do not desire them. So when you take birth in this world, then your happiness and distress is already fixed. No need to strive for happiness. It will come on its own accord, like distress is coming. That means we should learn to accept our situation. That is what Krishna has arranged for us according to our previous karma. And the devotee is responsible. He accepts this reaction and says, "Thank you, Krishna." What is the proper attitude that helps us to fix our mind on Krishna? Because if one runs after these material desires, one's mind will be uncontrolled. It will be uncontrolled. There's this proper attitude to be able to control the mind, to give up these material desires, and to accept whatever happens in one life as the mercy of Krishna. What is that inner attitude? That to accept whatever happens, good or bad, as the mercy of Krishna. Lord Brahma gives us this attitude. Tatena kampam susamikshama bunjane vatmakitam vipakam. Ritvakva varbe vidodana namaste jivetyo mukti pade sadayabhak. So this is the attitude that one, yes, we are accepting the reactions of our material misdeeds, past activities, sinful activities, whatever. And we wait for Krishna's mercy. And we say to Krishna, you give me the reactions and you give me only a token, not completely. And offer you my respectful obeisances. And then one is a good candidate to become free from one's reactions. So all these reactions come to the mind. This so-called happiness and distress is experienced in the mind. We must become equal to it. But if one thinks of Krishna, meditates on Krishna, then all this previous karma is hardly reduced. If one meditates with full attention on the chanting of the holy name, all this previous karma will hardly go. Only the karma remains that makes this body functioning, because the functioning of the body is also karma. If Krishna takes away all your karma, then you don't have a body anymore. But the karma that remains, that remains for the body, it's the last karma. If you are becoming Krishna conscious, then this gross body becomes also spiritualized, and you don't get a new body, gross body at the time of death. If we can control the mind, and when by engaging it constantly in Krishna consciousness. But Krishna consciousness is natural to the spirit soul. It's completely natural. Dat is wat Rupa Goswami zegt it says in Nectar of Devotion. The tendency to love Krishna is in our heart. That's what everyone wants, to love and be loved, but that love is misdirected. So that means controlling the mind in the beginning is a great endeavor, but when the mind is pure, it's automatically controlled in Krishna consciousness. Then there is no endeavor anymore. It's natural. It's just because of the contamination we have to remove that. Of course, there are 6 enemies of the mind. Who knows these 6 enemies? That any doubt what are these 6 enemies? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 16th chapter, there he describes the demoniac qualities. There are 3 gates to hell. What are these great? These are the 3 first enemies. What are these 3 first enemies? Nobody knows. 3 enemies of the mind that okay. The 3 enemies of the mind are mentioned in the 16th chapter of the Gita. That yes, chapter 16, verse 21. Does someone have Bhagavad Gita with him? Can someone read this verse 16, chapter 16, verse 21? There, the 3 enemies of the mind are mentioned.
I was working on it, Maharaj. Sorry.
Yeah.
1621?
Yeah.
Give me one moment, please. I'm on 15 flipping.
Yeah.
1621. I'm going to forego the Sanskrit so we don't have to do the vocabulary and speech tonight, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, there are 3 gates leading into this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Yes. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to a degradation of the soul. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Purport, the beginning of demonic.
Please read.
Correct? I'm sorry.
Please read. Read the purport, that's good.
Okay. The beginning of demonic life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demonic life must try to give up these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. This leads me to a question right off rip. You made a statement that if we have no karma, we have no body. If we have no karma, are we automatically liberated, or are we in limbo, or is that somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam that I have not read yet?
Yeah, this is important knowledge. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in his lectures also. Prabhupada gives the example of a fan. It works with electricity. And when one becomes Krishna conscious, it's unplugging the fan. But when you unplug the fan, it still continues for some time, but will end at the end. So if we have unplugged, if we become Krishna conscious, this karma runs out of the body till the end of life. And then no karma anymore. The subtle body has become freed from lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. These are the 6 enemies of the mind. And if one has become Krishna conscious, then the subtle body is spiritualized. One gets a gross body because the subtle body is contaminated with these enemies and material desires. Material desires, this lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy is caused by these material desires. So when your subtle body is spiritualized, you don't get a gross body anymore. It's because the subtle body is contaminated that we get again a gross body. Because the subtle body, if contaminated, is taken with the super soul according to the desires in the subtle body and the karma to the next destination, to the womb of a mother, another mother, hopefully a human. And there a new body, gross body, is created on the basis of the contaminated subtle body. So that is very important knowledge. Therefore, it's important to get rid of this lust, anger, and greed. And Srila Prabhupada speaks in the next purport here, in the next here, about how we can use anger in the mercy in the service of Krishna. If anger is used in the service of Krishna, it's controlled. So can someone read that paragraph? Similarly, anger can be controlled.
Yeah, I can read, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madhai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. In his Shishtastakam, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Tanadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask why the Lord exhibited his anger. The point is that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self. But when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger, cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka, but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of Lord Ramachandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjun serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord.
So when anger is not used in the service of the Lord, what does it cause to us? This is explained in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Dayato visya pumsan sangre stesvachayate sangre sanyate kama kama krodha vijayate. Dayate. So when one contemplates on the object of the senses, one becomes attracted. Attracted and attachments develops, which is lust. And then, but mostly, we have in our life so many plans. Materialists make so many plans that, but their plans never become true. Maybe partial, but they never become true. And therefore they become frustrated and angry. That anger arises because of unfulfilled material desires. That's the cause of anger. And that's the anger we should avoid. In this paragraph, Prabhupada explains how we can use anger. But the anger that comes from unfulfilled material desires is very destructive, because that's explained in 263. Kaudavavata sama smiti vipramam, smiti brahmsa buddhanyasa bunasa pranashati. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So that means here, the first thing that happens is delusion. Why you become angry? Because you identify with the body. You want to give the body sense gratification. And that's a delusion. And by that you become bewildered. Your memory is gone. You cannot understand. Your memory is gone. You see only the moment of frustration. And all the rest becomes irrelevant for a moment. So that's the process of fall down, anger. But of course, anger is natural also. But if anger arises from material desires, is destructive. If anger arises because one is angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, then it becomes an asset, and then it becomes helpful in our Krishna consciousness. It's used in the service of the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna, that Arjuna in the beginning was in illusion. He did not want to fight because he did not want to kill his family members and so on. Because the family gives us pleasure. But after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he became broad-minded. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, he understood, that the purpose of life is to please the Supreme Lord. And his motive of fighting went from material motive to spiritual motive. And then when he has understood Bhagavad Gita, came out of illusion, and then he started to see things as they are. So this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, that 5:16 Bhagavad Gita. Jnanena tu tat ajnanam yesana ashtamatmana teshamaditya vachyanam prakshyati tattam. When one is enlightened with knowledge, by which ignorance is destroyed, that knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. That knowledge by which ignorance is destroyed, it's mentioned here. Here it said in the purport, Krishna Surya Sam Maya Haya Andakar, Yan Krishna Tanai Maya Adikar. That Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like darkness. Maya means illusion. And that when we have Krishna in our mind, then we will be able to see things as they are. So we have learned about anger. We have learned about how always to think of Krishna. So how can we always think of Krishna? Great devotees, they show us how to always think of Krishna. Like in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, we have Ambarish Maharaj. So there are a few verses here that shows how we can fix the mind 24 hours in the service of Krishna. And it's important that we organize our life as such. This is our sadhana. Sadhana is in the beginning a mechanistic way to fix the mind on Krishna. Sadhana means follow the instructions of Shastra and the spiritual master. And it's a method by which we can engage our mind and senses in the service of the Lord. Through the instructions of the spiritual master. But Maharaj Sambhaji is a beautiful example. Savaimana Krishna Padaravinyam Vacham Svakuntunan Varnaika Raharman Nirmarchana Disu Shutim Sikarachita Satkatodai. Maharaj Sambhaji always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, and his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna. The next verse, Maharaj Sambhaji engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna. Krishna's temple and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. Maharaj Ambarish engaged his legs in walking to holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. So what is the point here? We must create the desire to serve the Lord. Desire means attachment. And Maharaj Sambhaji gives here the method how to do that, how he did it, increasing this attachment to the Lord. It's all a question of attachment. Change our attachment, change our desires is the same thing. That's the only thing we have to do in Krishna consciousness, change our desire. And that's not so easy, because we have this desire for material enjoyment has become like a second habit. That so sometimes devotees say, "I'm eating prasad. Can I not enjoy?" Yes, you can enjoy, but eating prasad should become honoring prasad. Honoring prasad means meditation on how Krishna tasted the offering. So therefore, if we take prasad, we should chew and taste very deeply and think how Krishna enjoyed this prasad. So it's another way of looking at life, that it's a realistic way to look at life, because everything is for enjoyment of the Lord, because it's his possession. Bhaktam charitapasam sarvalokamashvanam suradam sarvabhutnam hyatvam santim richati. We have to recognize the position of the Lord, that he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, that he's proprietor of everything, and he's the best friend of everything. That we need to learn. Now the next paragraph is also very important. Can someone else read the next paragraph as for the urges of the tongue?
Sure. As for the urges of the tongue, we all experience that the tongue wants to eat palatable dishes. Generally, we should not allow the tongue to eat according to its choice, but should control the tongue by supplying prasadam. The devotee's attitude is that he will eat only when Krishna gives him prasadam. That is the way to control the urges of the tongue. One should take prasadam at scheduled times and should not eat in restaurants or sweet shops simply to satisfy the whims of the tongue or belly. If we stick to the principle of taking only prasadam, the urges of the belly and the tongue can be controlled.
So that is a big issue. We have to eat. But if we eat, we should only accept Krishna prasad. So we should not take food offered by prepared by non-devotees, because Krishna will not accept it. Because Krishna wants the bhakti which is in the food. So that's an important point when we prepare prasadam. When we cook, we do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Before cooking, we pray to Srimati Radharani and pray to her, please, you have received a blessing from Durvasa Muni that whatever you cook will taste as nectar. Please empower us to cook this, to cook very nice for Krishna, so that it may taste very nicely for Krishna. And then we cook in Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of Krishna. And then we offer it. But so when we cook, we use different ingredients. But one of the ingredients should be devotion. We should cook it with devotion, because that's the ingredient which will make Krishna accept the offering. So this is subtle. We have our consciousness will enter these preparations. And that consciousness should be devotional, Krishna conscious, prepared with love. So if someone cooks for you out of love, then it tastes very nice. But because it's prepared with love, Krishna is like that. He wants our love. And that's the most important ingredient. When we offer the prasad, just one plate, we concentrate during the offering, please Krishna, accept everything what I've cooked. Not only what's on the plate, also what's in the pot. Then Krishna accepts. It's not by mixing later the so-called Mahaprasad with the rest of the bhoga, that rest of the bhoga becomes prasad or something. No, it's because of your consciousness. Krishna accepts devotional consciousness. Krishna accepts everything, and so that is a point of consciousness. That's the first thing with related to prasad. So I remember that we started Food for Life in Mumbai, and we had thousands of plates every day, went to the schools. And one Muslim newspaper reported that and said they are offering it to their deity. And they are not telling that. And Guru Maharaj replied to that. Bhakti Maharaj replied to that. Yeah. Oh, we are distributing 10,000 plates a day, and it's only one plate we offer. Only one plate. Because if they would try to counteract this argument, they are accepting the power of prasad, that everything became prasad. It was very intelligent. I found that brilliant answer. So generally we should not allow the tongue to eat according to the choice, but should control the tongue by supplying prasadam. So that it's important that we should only take Krishna prasad. Of course, one can say sometimes I want to eat something specific. That I want to eat pizza and ice cream. Well, you can prepare that for Krishna and offering to Krishna and then take it. Although that is not first class. First class is different. First class means I want to cook what Krishna wants, what he wants, not what I want. That's first class. How do we know what Krishna wants to eat? Well, soon we have the Govardhan Lila. And in the Govardhan Lila, there in the beginning, Krishna explains how to please Govardhan, and he gives entire menus. He says dal rice, that samosas, and milk, some milk sweets, and so on. He gives a whole list of what Govardhan wants to eat. That you find that also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That so many menus are given there. Lord Chaitanya gives us that. By that we can understand what Krishna wants. That, like in deity worship, I remember when I was cooking the Rajbhog for Radha Gopinath in Radhadesh. So in the deity kitchen, there were drawings of the plates of Krishna with the cups, and in each cup it was mentioned what you have to cook. We had to cook the daily sweet, another sweet, and then we have a salty sabji, and then we have a bitter sabji. You have to make a chutney and chapatis and puris for the Rajbhog. And then, there were a few more items. And that is what you have to cook. That is what Krishna wants. What kind of bitter sabji? Is it Kerala or something else you want to make? That's up to you. But he wants rice and yellow rice. That all the items you have to prepare are there. But what kind of sabji? In the category is up to you. So there is some leeway to express your personal cooking skills, but it's clear what Krishna wants, and that's first class. Second class is, I want to eat this and that, and therefore, because I'm going to cook it for Krishna and offer it to Krishna. That's second class. That's also good. So to control the tongue, one should take prasadam at scheduled times. That's important that we take prasadam at certain times and not in between. And then, yes. And Rupa Goswami also said one should take only prasad, and what one needs to keep body and soul together. That is not so much. If one needs more, then the senses may still become uncontrolled. If one eats more than necessary. So that is also a balance we have to need. We have to eat not too less, not too much. We have to control that. It's not easy in the beginning. Of course, in the beginning we cannot do. When Prabhupada was cooking himself in New York, he was encouraging the devotees to take more and more and more. Because in the beginning, it's very difficult. But as we make progress, we should diminish and come to what's really needed. It's also good for health, because if one eats more than necessary, then the stomach will not digest everything. And undigested food, according to Ayurveda, creates harm, toxins. And these toxins will find its way in the body and create pain and disease. That's the greatest cause of disease, overeating. And that we see today. Also, we have to be very careful not to overeat things, especially not sweets and sugar and so on. That will cause great problems in later age. But it's all due to overeating too much. And what can I eat? What can my stomach digest? That it is mentioned that in Ayurveda that everyone has two hands, but the food you can hold in your two hands in one time, that this is what you can digest in one time. And from that we can take 60% as in the morning as breakfast, 8 till 9% at noontime. Then noontime the fire of digestion is the highest, and 10 to 20% in the evening. It's a training. A devotee is a bit austere, but that austerity in the beginning, yes, it's austere, but after some time it becomes a habit and you don't think about it, and you start to become more you start to become more healthy. That because if you eat too much, that will give pressure on the genitals, and the genitals will, we will develop sex desire, and that is dangerous. Not okay. Can someone read the next the next paragraph? This is about controlling the sex impulse.
I can read it.
Thank you, Diana.
Mm-hmm. In a similar manner, the urges of the genitals, the sex impulse, can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The genitals should be used to beget a Krishna conscious child. Otherwise, they should not be used. The Krishna consciousness movement encourages marriages not for the satisfaction of the genitals, but for the begetting of Krishna conscious children. As soon as the children are a little grown up, they are sent to a Gurukula school in Dallas, Texas, where they are trained to become fully Krishna conscious devotees. Many such Krishna conscious children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna conscious offspring is allowed to utilize his genitals.
So the sex impulse has its purpose, and we should act according to this purpose. That if one is not used to do that, that will be very difficult in the beginning. But the purpose of Krishna consciousness is so strong. If we follow it sincerely, we will overcome this sex desire. That, but it takes time to give up these foreign habits, these former habits. That, but the important is that we, and this will be mentioned in the next verses of Nectar of Instruction, not to associate with persons who are greedy and will always speak about their sex desires, and the opposite sex. We should not associate with such people. That and stay away from the internet, and all these things. That will help. But it takes a while. Because this sex impulse is in some sense natural. and we cannot just suppress it. But it can be controlled by using it in Krishna's service, and it can be controlled by engaging in Krishna conscious activities. Then your mind is not into the body. That takes some time, but we should never give up. Even if there are some fall downs, you stand up again. That this is to be expected. As long as you have as long as you have a human body, it will be, this sex impulse will be there, will push you. So then the conclusion is that if one can when one is fully practiced in the methods of Krishna conscious control, he can become qualified to become a bona fide spiritual master. So, full control of body, mind, and senses means you are Krishna conscious. And then one can become a bona fide spiritual master. So then, I read the last paragraph, the next paragraph. In his Anuvriti explanation of the Upadeshamrita. So this nectar of instruction is called Upadeshamrita. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has written Anuvriti, an explanation of this Upadeshamrita. And he writes that our material identification creates three kinds of urges. Urge to speak, urges or demands of the mind, and the demands of the body. When the living entity falls victim to these three types of urges, his life becomes inauspicious. One who practices these demands or urges is called, one who practices resisting these demands or urges is called a tapasvi, and one who practices one who practices austerity. By such tapasya, one can overcome victimization by the material energy, the external potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is said here? We have to learn to say no to sense gratification. And that is tapasya. This tapasya, we must all practice, learn to say no to sense gratification. Just what is needed. Because if we don't do that, then we are fueling the body concept of life. And lust covers our intelligence. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the effect of lust. Avitam jnanam etena jnanina nityavarina. Kamrupena kauntya. Yeah. So this avitam jnanam etena jnanina nityavarina. Krishna says Arjuna, this lust is the greatest enemy because it covers our knowledge of our real constitutional position that we are. What is our real constitutional position as a spirit soul? We are the servant of Krishna and his devotees. So that's the effect of lust on our consciousness. That we have to learn to resist the demands, the urges, and that is a constant practice. Because if one does not control the mind, what happens in the mind? Like someone eats a lot of sweets, eats sweets and he feels good, but 2 hours later he comes into depression. Just by This is the effect of overeating. The mind becomes uncontrolled. So this is something we need to learn in Krishna consciousness. So we have made a little progress. We have discussed a few paragraphs today. Any questions, comments?
Yes, Maharaj.
Please.
In the beginning, you said that our happiness and distress is already fixed. The amount of it is fixed for this life. When it refers to happiness, does that just mean material happiness? Is spiritual happiness and experience considered differently?
Yeah, the spiritual happiness, Ananda, is transcendental. And it is continuously. It's not interrupted. But to attain that spiritual happiness, one must become callous towards the material happiness and distress. The so-called good or bad, the duality of the world. Happiness and distress in this world is related to the body. And as long as we are identifying with the body, we cannot experience this ananda of the soul, which is continuously. So it transcends these modes, transcend this material happiness and distress. How to do that? Mam seyo bhyabhicharana bhakti yogana sevate sagadan samatichitam brahma bhuya kalapati. By unalloyed devotional service, one immediately transcends the modes of nature. The Prabhupada said it's not difficult to transcend to transcend material nature. You just perform one of the 9 forms of devotional service, and immediately you will transcend. But the problem is we can do that, but to do that continuously is difficult because of the contamination of our mind, uncontrolled mind and senses. And that is the point made here. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the characteristics are given of one who is able to control, to transcend these modes and come to the spiritual happiness, which is everlasting. So these qualities are given by Lord Krishna in the 14th chapter, which is about the modes. And at the end, Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms of one who has transcended the modes? And here you have the symptoms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, or delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed to all the reactions of the material modes of good and bad, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing the modes alone are active. He who is situated in the self regards alike happiness and distress is the same. It's for the body, no? So So that means, yeah, equal in praise and blame, the desirable of the undesirable. We study that. So one engages and fixes his mind on Krishna and is fixed on Krishna through the process of devotional service. Is not concerned with this happiness and distress of this world and this body. Such a person is always happy, is always in trance. And that's the purpose. When we read the Bhagavatam every day, we should become very deeply absorbed and forget all the rest. Because this happiness, otherwise our mind will be filled with the so-called happiness and distress in this world. So that's the principle behind it. So we will continue with our purport. There are still some paragraphs to go. That we are going slowly, because this is the basis of becoming Krishna conscious. Without understanding this basis, yes, we cannot make spiritual advancement. Therefore, we are going slow and deep. That we will continue next week. Next week, same time. For me, it will be a different time. I will have to get up one hour earlier, because I understood the time in the United States, the winter time, is changing the beginning of November. But here it is 1 week earlier. And during that week, the difference between Orlando and Brussels is only 5 hours. Now it's 6. But this is only for 1 week. So next week, so we can have the class again. And it's now evening at your place. When it becomes morning, 6:45, I will give the Bhagavatam class. That's for me this evening. So next week, I will not be able to give Bhagavatam class. That's something else, because I have the Bhaktivedanta course for the Mayapur Institute at the same time. But we have next week the Nectar of Instruction class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Jai
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Bol.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank
Hare
you. Hare Krishna.
Bol.